supplementary map analysis for my You Hate Black Ops 6 for Stupid Reasons video. It's going to further illustrate all the shitty design choices that Trey Archer, whoever the fuck developed this game, made. They're just idiots. They've clearly have no idea what they're doing. And people pretend that some of the maps in this game are good. Like, yeah, some of them are good, bro. Totally, bro. Some of them are just so good. Yes, this is going to be a bit late. This is going to be analyzing all the Season 0 maps, as I guess you could consider them. You know, the launch maps, but they haven't gotten better. We haven't gotten any good maps. The only footnote I want to put at the beginning of this video is that Stakeout is not actually that much of a brain rot idiot shipment map. It's actually sort of competitive in a way, but it's not that great, and I don't consider it good or bad enough to add it into this video. So yeah, what you see is what you get. Scud Vs Array. I didn't just pick these maps because of the giant dishes on them, but if you look at them, they are rather similarly designed. Not quite. There are definitely differences. Scud has way more open space. This spawn and this spawn should not fucking be like this. There should be no reason for two spawns to be this close to the start of fucking, like, deathmatch. Come on. These maps are too tiny and there's too many people on them. But let's talk about this back line is kind of just terrible, mostly because it starts and ends in a spawn, which is not the worst thing for a rotation to have, but damn, if there aren't so many lines of sight that people have on each other. Let's talk about this. No one goes inside here. Nobody. You only do it if you're getting shot at on here, or on here. Compare that to this part of Scud. This part of Scud is fun to be in because of the fucking angles. Get a shot at all this, and then you come over here, your angles are cut off, but you have a safer entry into this zone because this zone is obstructed. Guess what? You're fucked no matter which way you come out of this. You know why? Because it's got a part above it that can shoot not the entire map, but way too much of it. It's just, there's no reason for these sandbags to be here if the underneath is also here. Like, just fucking pick one, and I'll kind of explain what I mean. Like, this part, you know, you can shoot all of this. You have a huge viewing angle, and these guys have a viewing angle on this, but also on this. Let's talk about this part. This part is fucked. No one uses this. No one uses this crossover. This little tiny part back there under the dish, right? Compare that to what's in the dish here. You just see that there's actually a reason to use this crossover. And then inside here, you got vertical angles. The vertical angles on Scud are fucking terrible. The verticality on this part is non-existent. No one is going to be using this back part unless they're trying to shoot like someone over here. But in that case, way too many people are able to shoot at you. You have this like Bermuda Triangle from hell that can just murder you instantly. And then you go back here, what are you doing except camping out on a hard point if you're actually proning here? If you're proning here in team deathmatch or deathmatch, like kill-based modes, you're literally just trying to get these two spawns. That's it. You're just farming these spawns and maybe guys that come in from here or here. It's literally just to farm spawns and get the occasional reaction to these guys who are actually trying to kill you. They have a fair shot at you. Otherwise, you're just proning trying to spawn kill people. Let's talk about the spawns in here. This back line, I think, is not that good. This is not that great of a zone in Array, I'll be honest, but it's better than having this guy, or let's say this guy, try and spawn kill you. But it's different than just looking all the way down here. This spot can't shoot over here. It can't shoot down into this spawn. You're never not threatened at this point. This is way more fun than this, because this, you can get shot coming in this way, you can get shot coming in this way, in this way, in this way, in this way, from a guy generally sliding around here, or across this way. You can get shot coming in this way too, right? You can get shot coming this way. This is just kind of a death trap that you're tempted to reload in. These buildings are not so. These buildings are not the same. Literally built different. There's a reason to cross over into this building to get an angle on these guys, and that's because you're actually safe doing it. There's no reason to know that you can walk out here, because you're never going to be safe from the guy who spawns here, or the guy who spawns here, or the guys who spawn maybe here or here. Like, it's literally just spawn, kill one person, and then die. That's how these maps are built. I don't even need to talk about the fact that people actually go back here on this map, or back here, and then they might be here trying to toss a grenade in here if they know someone's head glitching, which someone might be. But if they successfully rotate in here, they're not threatened by this guy anymore. If you successfully rotate around here, you are always going to be threatened by these guys, or by spawns right here, or right here. I don't think the spawn's right there. I think it might be around there. I don't know. There is a spawn in here, if I recall correctly, but it's just so fucked, this whole rotation around the map in comparison to rotating around here. Let's draw the whole thing. This rotation, you will not always get a lot of kills, but you will know what kills you can get on this rotation. On this rotation, you never know what the fuck is going to happen, because the map is designed for exactly that purpose. It's designed for that casino 50-50, not even 50-50. It is a casino. You're designed to lose on this rotation. On this rotation. Going around this map is just a death trap, and going inside it, who the fuck wants to be here? Let's talk about useless areas. Yes, this area is kind of shitty. There's not much reason to be here unless you spawn here, but I'd rather have useless areas on the edge of the map than useless areas in the fucking middle of the map. Sorry, but the little foxhole sand pit here is not safe. There's no point to ever be in it unless you're like caught out like around here and you have to dive in comparison to the center, like this part of the map is always contended. You can always get some fucking nasty plays around like this section, okay, even around this section, and then you're getting them around this section. So you kind of have two big focus points on the map, and then you have the rotations across these focus points that are also very important to be playing. This, you sort of have this figure eight almost. There is no real comparison on Scud for this sort of map design. This sort of map design where you have rotations that are important and you have focus zones that are actually fun to play. What is fun to play about this? Nothing, because you can get killed at any point, at any time, anywhere on this point. What is fun about this? You know one guy's going to be camping here, and it's not fun to run through this because the only kills you're going to get are either a guy entering, right, or one guy camping on either side. So it's either enter that you're going to get the kill, or camper that you're going to get the kill. And then once you get out here, you're pretty much just looking for guys up here or a guy who spawned here running out. These guys are generally just going to be killed by the camping sniper who spawned here, or the sniper who's camping back here. This guy is going to get killed by another sniper who spawned and is just camping in his spawn. There is nothing fun about Scud. Even though I think it's one of the better maps, I don't think it's really that great in comparison to the greatness of a game that wasn't even considered that balanced. At least it had good maps, unlike fucking Black Ops 6. So, moving on to Rewind versus Express. But you might not think these maps are similar at first, mostly because the U shape is kind of reversed. Rewind has this and this, and Express has this. It's more like this, but regardless, it has this U shape, and then it has one going across like this. So instead of the curves being on the same arc, they're on opposite arcs. But it is nonetheless important to compare these two maps, mainly because they have two long outside lanes. It's got this one, and then it's got that one. This one is sort of broken up. You can kind of climb into this. You can get in here, but it's different than this one, because this one you can pretty much run straight across. This is much different than this. This is going to be less thorough since I've played on Rewind a lot less than the other maps I'm going to talk about. I've done quite a fair amount on Express. Rewind is probably one of the worst maps in the game, mostly because of these two areas just being shitholes. This and that. They both suck. Now compare that to the outside lanes on Express. The outside lanes on Express are interconnected. You have this one, which goes really like this. They are connected because there is this crossover. There's this crossover. There's also this crossover, and you can get through the trains into here. And you move across here. It's not one freaking mosh pit in the middle of the map, outside of which you will just get one tapped. You will instantly die if you run along here. You will instantly die much later if you run along here. It will take longer to instantly die along this line than it will along here. Nonetheless, these are terrible parts of the map. It would be better if this entire thing took place, if we literally just cut out like most of this part of the map. If that was gone, if this is gone because no one goes here, if everything behind here was cut off, and we generally just had this zone. If you force players to be where they're actually playing, where the part of the map actually makes sense, it would be good. But guess what? Look at how much, compare the amount of map that isn't being used on Rewind or just sucks to be in on Rewind to Express. In Express, really the only parts of the map you're not going to be using are here and here. You instantly have access to all three lanes of the map, right? If you spawn back here, you only have access to this part and this part immediately. This part doesn't really cross it. The crossover is not as immediate because you have to go here. You have to expose yourself to the worst, most unfun part of the map to play to actually get inside here. And rarely ever do people shoot across like this. What's the point of having this part of the street if you're not able to shoot across it? Meanwhile, there is actually a purpose to having this train be stopped here, because you can shoot out of the train in both directions. You can access both parts of the map from the train, but it's not just an easy jump in any part, jump out any part. There are specific parts that cross over into different parts of the map, and you can get shot at from guys here. So you have this nice little triangle here of play, and then you have another triangle here. So you have the heart of the map designed around these two, this really bifurcated rhombus, I guess you would say. Again, going back to what I said with the other maps where you have an actual design imagery going on just from the mini-map point of view, you have no such thing with Rewind. I would rather have them, I would rather play Babylon than this. This is worse than Babylon because it's almost less intentionally designed. It's better that Babylon is designed to be a terrible map than for this map to be designed as a nothing map that no one will ever play. People will remember Babylon as being a shithole clusterfuck of terrible shooting angles and spawn kills and whatnot, but no one will ever remember Rewind, ever. Unlike Express, which has this double triangle effect. There is actual thought going into this map. There is no thought going into this map. I guess that's my point with Rewind, more so than the other maps, is Rewind, despite being a more traditional map than the other maps, is just a thoughtless nothing. It's like a cargo cult was made around 3-lane design without understanding why there were 3 lanes, what the purpose of the 3 lanes was, why and where they were connected, and how they played, like the hot zones of the map, so to speak. What are the hot zones of this? Is it really that fun to just be playing in these 2 areas and maybe I mean, not even here. You just have people shooting at each other down here, hoping someone runs out here for no reason, because once you play this map, there's no reason to be out here. It's just a total death trap. So either you're getting shot at by people from here, or you're getting shot at by people from here, right? So it's completely lopsided. Unless you're playing like Hardpoint or something, this side of the map is like never being played on. Domination, sure, Domination has a point here and here, but once again, this part is already being used. This part is rarely ever contested. This part is rarely ever contested. So you pretty much just have one point on the map actually getting contested. What is the point of that? It's just terrible design. It's awful. It's thoughtless. Idiots made this. Cargo cult idiots made this map. One of these maps is how you design a long-range map, and the other is how you don't. Don't get me wrong, Protocol is a lot more mid-range firefights than truly, like, long-range ones, but it is present, and there is plenty of medium-range firefighting on Underpass. Let's dig into what these maps actually are. First of all, this part and this part are rarely ever used. This part, you can just cut this part out of the map. It's pointless. Bye-bye. This part is not really used. It's really just this part. Now let's compare that to Underpass. Underpass, this part is a spawn area, and that's actually something I forgot to mention in my other analyses, is that the unused parts of old maps are to ensure that people can spawn safely, okay? It's to ensure that you aren't getting spawn killed nearly as much. These maps, the new maps, are actually not designed with that in mind, because once again, they were made by idiots. Like here, this part, right? This part is for a safe spawn. You can still be threatened. Guy can come down here because he wants to get in here and see you and shoot you. But guess what? That's a lot rarer than, you know, you spawning right here and there's an enemy that spawns right here. Conversely, if you spawn back here and the enemy team is all the way up here, it's much better. That's much worse than, you know, spawning back here. As for long-range combat, let's be honest, it's all happening here, 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 across here, and across here. Oh, and down here, obviously. Let's look at Underpass. On Underpass, it's going way down here. Not so much from here to here, but from about here to this pillar. It's happening from here down here. It's happening across here. It's happening from here kinda down here, and then it's also happening from here to here, kinda here to here. That's gonna cover most of it. Also from here to here, actually. Yeah, that's actually a much better summation of what it is. Not so much here to here. There is a spot in here that you can shoot out of, or maybe it was here. I don't know, I might be wrong on that. Then there's some conflict going on out of the house. There are some firing lines out of here. There is not an angle out of this house, I believe, but there is conflict going on out there, right? So already you have a way bigger amount of the map being utilized in comparison. Most of the map is going to have intersecting lines of fire. Oh, also down here, not completely down here, but this is a lane of approach all the way up there. So compare the amount of like actual play happening on this map to this map. See how many intersecting lines of fire can actually happen. Let's take this rotation. This rotation is really uncommon. Most people don't like being back here because it's a rather boring part of the map. But let's take spawn here. You can rotate from here. This is kind of a death trap, but you do have spots in here. So either from here to here or here to here, and that's a meaningful choice. And then you meet up either here and go in here or here, which is also a meaningful choice. You can go all the way around, right? Or you can go up here, right? Now, let's look at the rotations in here. There's one rotation that at, let's say, well, first of all, you actually have a rather tough time rotating from here to here, but it goes like this. This is really uncommon. You basically never go from here, jump down here, and go around here, because so many people can shoot you from here, 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 kind of here, here, and then there's a spawn back here. If you rotate around here, this spawn is something you're aware of and can account for. Spawns over here, you can account for. A spawn over here, you can account for. Look at how much unaccountable shit is happening on here. If you're standing here, you can be shot by any of these guys. This map is so fucking casualized. Let's look at the hot zones on the map. This hot zone, this, and then, I mean, that's really it. Let's include the buildings, because the buildings are contested sometimes. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty much it. You do have gunfights along here, and you do occasionally have some here. You never have someone walking over here, but you see what I mean. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? They're all almost on top of each other. Now let's look at Underpass. You have a hot zone, basically goes from here, including this building, to about the head glitches over here. And then it includes this section of the map because of the firing angles, and it includes this part because of the firing angles. Not so much this back part here. There's another firing angle in there, and once we get out of the building, comes back around there. Look at how much of the map is actually interacting with each other in the center. Now look at how much of the map is interacting on Protocol. In Protocol, you're looking, if you're out here, you're looking at the windows here, the door, you're looking at the windows here, the door, and maybe here. And you're maybe looking here, right? People don't like to go to sort of this fixture here because it exposes you to people here. Not here, but it does expose you a lot more, especially because people have better angles of fire on you from here, right? Let's compare that to the positions here. You are making much more meaningful choices about your angles of fire if you decide to post up here for a moment than you are if you post up here. If you post up here, you're looking down here to this sort of crossover section, and you're looking at once again, windows and doors. The sections you're looking at are the same almost no matter where you're going. If you're going here, the only difference is you're going to be looking at both windows. All you're doing here is cutting off the window and the door of your own side. At most, you might occasionally be looking back to this sort of staircase zone here. If you're here, you're really only scared of, I mean, I can't even remember. I think there was a crossover. I think you can hop this. It was rare, but I think it happened. I can't remember. Once again, the angles of fire are a lot more meaningful. You got this one, not so much this one, but you are looking here. You have this one, and then you just barely have angles of fire coming from people coming out of here. But you're not as worried from people coming out of because they're going to be looking down here. They're going to be looking at this section because this section can shoot them way more readily than this guy. It's going to take them a second to emerge from these pillars, and while they're emerging from these pillars, they're already looking at this place. So if they've cleared this sort of zone here, if they've cleared sort of this angle of fire down here, then there's actually going to be a reason for them to look over here because they've cleared this sort of angle of the map. Now, this head glitcher isn't usually looking all the way down here. He's looking here. And if you're here, you're already trying to minimize the capacity from the person in the house to shoot you, right? Because they can't see you for as long as they can if you approach from this direction. But this is all from memory, so excuse me if I'm getting some stuff wrong, but you should be getting the gist of what I'm saying. Each angle, each position has a meaning. Each position is played differently from each other position. All of this is played almost exactly the same, okay? This isn't even fun to be in. This little, like, boat section here, it's just not fun. And that's a unique problem with Protocol, is that the underground parts of Protocol, much like The penthouse map, I can't remember what it's called, and I'm not going to look it up because I don't give a fuck. It's an okay map. It's better than Protocol, but it does have the same problem wherein the underground sections are just not fun. Who really has fun going in the like section underground here? It doesn't come out to here. There's no way you can get up here from like that section. You can only get into this building and this building, and not even from like more than one way. It's just boring. There's an actual purpose to taking the low elevation path. There's an actual purpose to taking it here, because you're actually minimizing your danger from people out here, People here do have a threatening angle on you, but the amount that they can threaten you is minimized to the point that this is a meaningful position in relation to here. If you're saying, I'm gonna go here, you know that this position threatens you. You know that there's meaning to this spot, right? Now, granted, there is a big part of the map that I will admit does not see enough use, and that is kind of their fault. If everyone's in the lobby, you will see people playing this, but otherwise it's kind of dead. It really is this center of the map thing going on with this low elevation and this sort of back alley little mosh pit going on here. But you don't see that sort of dichotomy with this center and then outside play going on Underpass. In here, it's literally just the center. This part is at most for getting spawn kills. That's it. If you want to do a long rotation to try and change the dynamic here, it's going to be tough exactly because of these spawns. They diminish your capacity to make meaningful plays by creating these super dangerous spawning patterns. In here, if you want to get the angle on someone, it is much more meaningful and much more tactical than here. It's much more about, getting your teammate to trade for you if you're even playing a team game. If you're playing free-for-all on this, it's so boring, because then you have this dynamic going on here that doesn't usually happen. If you're here at this head glitched, it's because you've recently killed someone and minimized your chances of getting shot in the back. You're trying to get a few kills before maybe you move on. But people will camp this spot forever. They'll just stay here, waiting for someone to try and throw a grenade down here, maybe just barely rebound it, and then they'll jump out and shoot them, and then they'll go back to shooting these guys. And it's not quite the same on this one, but you understand that, this is still a camping zone. People will just rotate through this entire building and play the entire game in this building. It's much harder to play the entire game in this spot on Underpass and, this building on Underpass, and, definitely not this building. This building, people make a meaningful choice when they go into this building. People are not making a meaningful choice when they go into this building because there's only two options. By having only one option going into this building or not, you are actually forcing people to make more decisions on the map than you are worrying about how much fun people are having in this tiny little zone. These are comparatively small zones on the map to this and this. It barely even serves as a rotation point. It's literally just a place in which guys up here can shoot you. It's dumb. Unlike on Underpass, where this part is not just a section for players here to shoot you. They thought about that. Here, they did not think about this. One map is thought out. One map is made by idiots. Maybe even made by smart people on purpose to be bad, which is much worse. This is definitely going to be the most unorthodox one. I'm also recording this the latest, so if I sound a bit tired or whatever, that's why. We're going to be talking about Carrier and Subsonic. Subsonic is an example of a map with very clear sight lines, lots of open space basically, that sucks. And Carrier is a map with lots of open space that is great. I know some people don't like Carrier, and I know plenty of people don't like Subsonic, but I also know there are people who pretend Subsonic is a good map, and I think I need to shoot them down the most. Because damn does Subsonic suck. First of all, this polygon in the center is just the least fun part of the map to be in at any given time. If you're entering this, it's either for an objective or you expect to die. Now, outside of this, there are these spots. These are both spawns, or I believe the spawn is closer to here, but there's a spawn here and there's a spawn here. here, around here. This is the only way you're going to be shooting here. There is never a situation in which you will be shooting this way in this section of the map, ever. It will never happen. Unless, like, I don't know, unless you've opened this and you're for some reason over here. Maybe in certain niche situations in objective based game modes that will happen, but otherwise it's pretty much never going to happen, because even if you enter this way, you want to enter from this direction in as little time as possible while exposing yourself as little as. Plus, there's no way to shoot over any of these. These don't serve as cover even to like prone behind. I mean, I'm not sure if you can prone under them if you can prone under this or maybe under this to try and shoot in here, because why would you ever do that? Why would you ever think of doing that? And it's almost as bad on this side of the map where there's like no cover whatsoever. Well, no, not here, because this is too high. You can't use this as cover. You have to like jiggle peek it basically. When this side is open, no one is taking cover and shooting into it here. When this side is open, no one is taking cover and actually using this space to shoot in. There's no reason for these doors to even open at all. It should just be a hard wall and maybe have a door right in here. And same on this side. It'd be better if it was just a wall with a door, if it wasn't like a hanger. They could put some other object in the middle, but it doesn't really fucking matter, because as you can see here, it offers basically no cover whatsoever. Remember Rust? I mean, look at this. You could never be shot inside this little thing. I mean, people could obviously come up and shoot you, but the point of these objects is that they could not be shot around, or that they could not be shot through, excuse me. This guy, in order to get a good angle on basically this whole space, had to expose himself from back here. And here's a good example. Subsonic is actually a map that uses all of its space, thankfully, but it makes other mistakes like I've already described, in that there are just pointless lines, pointless possibilities that serve no purpose whatsoever, like this plane. This plane serves literally no purpose. Why is it even here? There's no situation in which you've stopped someone from shooting this way, this way, this way, or this way. Now, let's assume someone's across. Let's assume that both of these doors were open, because there are times where they are both open to some degree at the same time, and people slide in like this and like that. But when has this object ever stopped them from shooting at each other? Pretty much never. You can always see each other from underneath it, so there's no reason for it to be there other than for, like, I don't know, aesthetics. And it's not even that cool. It's that F117 like ugly ass fighter. It's not like a swag SR-71 fighter plane. So it serves no purpose, and it's not even cool. So please remove this dog shit. I mean, that'll never happen, but point is, it shouldn't be there. Let's go to, honestly, let's compare this plane to these planes. These planes had a reason to be there, because as you can see, when you're on these planes, you can see everybody, but you also had to expose yourself to fire from certain angles. Obviously, you can't be behind here, and then shoot at the plane. You have to peek it. But guess what? There's no point at which you're going to be on this plane that someone actually has to peek you. You're going to be shot from guys spawning here and coming up here. Not even. That line's way too long. From here. They spawn here, and then they move here, and then they kill you. Guys spawn maybe over here. Boom. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. There's no reason for this plane to be here. All it does is occasionally obstruct fire from guys over here. That's it. I mean, not always, because if you're head glitching on it, I mean, people can still shoot you. It doesn't really obstruct fire. It's not an effective way at protecting the spawn behind it, because the spawn behind it is always threatened by this spawn over here. So going back to casual game design, once again, you are always threatened. In Carrier, there are parts of the map where you are not always threatened. You are not always threatened in here, Plus, this is one of those indoor zones that is actually fun to fight in. It was dangerous, but it was fun to go into. And again, the indoor section on this map actually had a point. If you wanted to threaten this section of the map, if someone was rotating in here and you were like out here, you only have a few options. You only have in this way and in this way. So there's a meaningful distinction between this, where you actually have to make a choice about how you're going to enter, and this crap, where you can enter this from literally every possible direction, and everyone else can enter from every possible direction. So what's the fucking point of all this crap? Why is this even here? Just remove this from the map and make it flat. Just make the whole thing flat. Why even have cover on this map? Compared to here, this cover actually allows you to run across the deck of the carrier. There's no reasonable path to move here, and we both know this. Unless you really want to get in here quick, there's no reason to take this path. Everybody goes here. Everybody. Always. You know why? Because you can head glitch on this little spot if you're trying to capture this point, okay? You can go prone and try and head glitch them. You can, you know, be sneaky and like peek it. You can do movement on this point. There's no movement that's really going to save you unless you just straight dive into this door, as if someone's over here, which is clearly different from standing here and the person over here not being able to see you. There's a difference between standing here and these people not being able to see you, or standing here. So here, 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 where else? I mean, in here, and then all around this. All these objects clearly serve a purpose. What the fuck is the purpose of these armored vehicles here if they're not really cover at all? None of these really serve as cover because you can't like peek any of these. There's no peeking, there's no movement related to these that is actually meaningful, because people can just easily go around them. It's much harder to navigate all of this with your normal movement system, so it's a meaningful choice, the path you want to take across the deck. And it's almost even more meaningful if you want to take it across this way or this way. If you wanted to go in here, you could cut off someone who is trying to kill guys coming up this way from this location. It was different. It was meaningful. You had real choices that you were making when you were deciding the position you wanted to be in on the map. You were deciding, I want to move here for this reason. And granted, we were plenty young when we were playing this game, so obviously this was not always a conscious thought, but guess what? If we can look back and say this now, how fucking bad is this? That if we played both of these basically unconsciously without a game plan, and people are saying, wow, this map sucks, this map was awesome, please bring back Black Ops 2 and all that shit. Now, I definitely think this side is worse than this side, even if there are no real meaningful decisions to make in terms of this cover, and especially not this zone. Like, damn, this is awful. Unless this door is already open, this is just stupid. And honestly, if the door is open, it's even dumber, because you're just fucked if someone throws a grenade in here. Not always, but you understand what I mean. It's generally a pretty bad decision to enter from this way if this door's open. This zone is never used. No one is sticking around in this zone ever. This zone was a hot zone. People were always trying to contest this so they could snipe down the deck, right? Because controlling this meant you also had some degree of control on this, right? There was an actual like dynamic going on here. Maybe not so much here. Here was kind of where you would get caught lacking, as they might say. And here, this fighter here actually had a purpose. I already described the purpose of these fighters, why it was an actual choice to get on them. This fighter is actually a much better example of what I'm talking about. This fighter is nowhere near as important as this one, because guess what? This provides cover to people on a low elevation, to people from a high elevation. Not perfectly, obviously you had to actually get under it or get behind it. It was there and it actually provided a purpose. This serves no purpose to anybody. It doesn't stop these people from shooting on this diagonal. It doesn't stop this diagonal. It doesn't stop across. It doesn't stop, it doesn't stop any way across. It definitely doesn't stop this angle. It doesn't stop this angle. It doesn't stop that. Why is it there? You can clearly immediately know, hey, I know why they put this here. I know why these guys are here. I know why this is like this. I know why people are contesting this. You can say, I know why someone might do this. Maybe not that big, but why someone might do that and that as opposed to that and that, or even that. Right? There are decisions going on here. Going in this way, going in this way, exiting this way or this way. There's no purpose at all. It's all the same shit. It's casual. It's dog shit. Fuck these maps. But that's pretty much going to be the end of my map analysis, because it's honestly tiring. I've heard people call these maps brain rot maps. They're completely right, because there are no choices you make on these maps. The player is not relevant when he is playing these maps. And that is their exact purpose. They want to make player choice as irrelevant as possible because they want to keep the game casual. They want to diminish player skill. They want to make sure that knowledge application is not creating a divide between good and bad players.